Okay, little guy, you can get off me now. And go on a branch so I can take your picture.
This is Russell Mittermeier, a primatologist and the president and co-founder of the wildlife group Conservation International. Mittermeier travels the world helping to protect endangered species. His work is extremely hands-on.
And this is the biggest diversity of chameleons in the world. You get probably pushing 70 species now.
This might look like your typical American zoo, but it's actually Madagascar, a small island nation off the southeastern coast of Africa. It's home to an amazingly unique collection of animals and plants. In fact, around 5% of the world's species are believed to only exist on Madagascar. Best known are the lemurs, the small, playful type of primate found only in Madagascar. There are over 100 species of lemurs on the island, and many of them have been discovered by Mittermeier himself.
Madagascar has been isolated from the African mainland for at least 160 million years and isolated and separated from India for about 90 million years. So over this very long period, it's evolved in isolation and is really a living laboratory, a unique evolutionary experiment in every sense of the word. And most of what you find there is only found there and nowhere else. And that's not just at the level of species, but you have entire families, entire genera of mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians, plants that are found nowhere else in the world.
The more time you spend with him, the easier it is to understand Mittermeier's fascination with Madagascar. The island is a fantasy world of exotic animals because it's so isolated, which gives evolution time to do its work. But that isolation also makes for a very delicate ecosystem, because if a species goes extinct in Madagascar, as many plants and animals already have, that means they're likely gone from the planet forever. Conservationists like Mittermeier are trying to stop that cycle from continuing.
I'm the eternal optimist, and I believe that we will push through the problems that we have right now, get things back on track, and continue on the path that we're on to really make Madagascar a great conservation model.
Today, Madagascar and its wildlife are still threatened by massive deforestation. More than 80% of the country's original vegetation has been destroyed, along with hunting and erosion. Now you can add political instability to that list. The former mayor of the capital city forced out the president of Madagascar recently, leaving a political vacuum that poachers and loggers are taking advantage of. That puts conservation groups working in Madagascar in a tight spot.
When you hit problems like this, you don't just bail out. If there's political unrest, if there's civil strife, you don't just pack up your bags and leave. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. And it makes it particularly bad for those poor people who are living in the rural areas adjacent to protected areas and elsewhere. They're the ones who suffer the most. So we absolutely should not pull out our aid to these kinds of projects that are so critically important for the future of the country and especially for these poor rural communities.
We often think of conservationists as only caring about endangered animals. But in fact, Mittermeier and his colleagues now spend much of their time trying to help people. In Madagascar, the best conservation works by supporting programs that can help channel income to the very poor who live closest to wildlife, without hurting nature.
It's absolutely essential that we have very strong engagement with local communities and that those local people benefit in a major way. They see that conservation is the best path for them to achieve a higher standard of living and to really have well-being in the future for themselves and for their children.
For people living on less than $1 a day, as 61% of those in Madagascar do, a job as a guide or working around a park represents a real economic opportunity. Madagascar has the potential to be a successful ecotourism spot. The economic and political crisis has put that on the back burner for now. Mittermeier is hoping that it will pick up soon.
What we need to do is start to really build into the human psyche that these areas need to be protected not just for their wildlife. They're not a luxury. Their survival is critical to our own survival. And if we start recognizing that, then I think we can build systems, we can build broader landscapes and seascapes that will enable us to survive in this increasingly overcrowded and overconsumptive planet.
We hear about conservation and the threat of extinction all the time, and no small amount of money now goes into saving animals. But in a world where hundreds of millions of people still go hungry every day, and the global recession is impacting us all, it's easy to wonder why we should care.
To me, it's tragic to let something that has been created over millions of years of evolution go extinct, when for so little money we can protect these animals and plants, we can bring them back from the brink of extinction. So for me, conservation ultimately is a moral obligation, and in many ways it's simply the right thing to do for civilized 21st century society.
You can put an economic value on a healthy environment and living species, but in the end, it has to be much more than that. Ultimately, there's an innate value to untrammeled biodiversity. When that is lost, we ourselves are irretrievably diminished. This is Brian Walsh, reporting from Madagascar for Time.com.
Nice catch.
Yes.